Hello, welcome. It's more persecution, I'm afraid, although it is foretold, so expect more, as it were. I'm going to get into it because it's a lot. It's a summary. It's not an exhaustive summary, but it is a summary of the persecution that occurred for last month, which is March 2021. And it's courtesy of Raymond Ibrahim, with permission. So I will drop the link to the actual text afterwards, or I think I already have because I'm like organized today, apparently. Anyway, yeah, let's get on with it. Okay, so murder and mayhem at churches. Indonesia. On Sunday, March 28th, a newlywed Muslim couple launched a suicide attack. I can think of lots more honeymoon stuff that's like got a future in it, but okay, they launched a suicide attack on Sacred Heart Cathedral in Makassar during Palm Sunday service. Thanks to security who prevented the motorcycle riding couple from entering the building, only the two suicide bombers died in the blast near the building's entrance. About 20 churchgoers, however, were injured. The female suicide bomber was 4 months pregnant. What an absolute peach. Had the couple managed to enter the cathedral, the blast would likely have massacred dozens of Christian worshippers. The husband's suicide bomber was a member of a jihadi cell that had bombed other churches in the past, including the 2019 Jolo church bombing in the Philippines that left 20 Christians dead and over 100 injured. So even though, yeah, I just don't know what to say about it, other than the fact that, yeah, they just hurt themselves more than anybody else, really. So he left a suicide note saying he was ready to die a martyr rather than just an idiot. He didn't say that, I did. According to one report, Indonesian supporters of Islamic State, i.e. ISIS or IS, whatever you're into, are calling for more attacks on Christians and churches following this attack and presumably its success. Sorry, sarcasm gets me through. Okay, Nigeria. On March 30th, armed bandits, likely Islamic terrorists, attacked St. Paul's Catholic Church in Benue State. The priest and 6 others were killed in this raid. And according to a statement from the local diocese, after celebrating Mass and while he, the priest, prepared to leave to renew his priestly vows alongside his brother priests, there was pandemonium among the internally displaced persons who took refuge in the parish premises. So for anybody who's not aware, internally displaced persons, there are like 20,000 of them currently, I think, in Ethiopia. It's just people who are displaced out of home, out of their villages, due to attacks, predominantly Islamic, in the countries that I'm talking about, at least. So these persons had taken refuge, and there was pandemonium among them. Father Ferdinand went out to find the cause of the confusion. He was shot in the head as he tried to take cover after sighting armed gunmen. The murderers continued shooting at the fleeing Christians, i.e. in the back, I've got to say it, and killed 6 more. Separately in Nigeria, around mid-March, Muslim riots erupted and Christians and their churches came under assault after Christian schools asserted their right not to enforce the hijab, which, as everybody knows, is an Islamic head covering. They didn't want to impose this onto their students. According to a statement by President of Kwara Baptist Conference, the Reverend Victor Dada, Christians who were today at First Baptist Church on peaceful demonstration with drums and trumpets came under serious attack by Muslim fundamentalists who mobilized themselves and louts in large numbers to attack us. More than 20 people, including, it's just ridiculous, 4 pastors, were wounded, with 3 being hospitalized. The fundamentalists, in the presence of security officials, vehemently attempted to burn the church, and when repelled, threatened to burn the church either during the day or at night. They doused the church gate with petrol and vandalized the auditorium. They also went ahead to vandalize the Apostolic Church, Aruda, a church without any grant-aided school. So it doesn't actually matter. They're not doing it on any kind of principle. They're just tramps. Sorry, I've got to say it. Okay, Azerbaijan now. According to a March 29th report, over the course of just 2 weeks, at least 3 Armenian churches in the Nagorno-Karabakh region were recently vandalized or destroyed by Azerbaijani forces, even though ceasefire has been declared in November. Video footage of the desecration of one of these churches appeared in late March, and it's available once I link this article. It shows Azerbaijani troops entering the church, laughing, mocking, kicking and defacing the Christian items inside, including a fresco of the Last Supper. Turkey's flag appears on the Azeri serviceman's uniform, further implicating the Erdogan government of involvement. I've got a lot to say about that, but time is brief here. So as they approach, one of the Muslim soldiers says, "Let's now enter their church where I will perform namaz." And for anybody who doesn't know, namaz is a set of Muslim prayers when Muslims pray inside non-Muslim places of worship. They immediately become mosques, apparently, although we know that's what we in the game call twaddle. In response to this video, Arman Tatoyan, an Armenian human rights activist, issued this statement. The president of Azerbaijan and the country's authorities have been implementing a policy of hatred, enmity, ethnic cleansing, and genocide against Armenia, citizens of Armenia, and the Armenian people for years. The Turkish authorities have done the same or have openly encouraged the same policy. By way of example, he said that Azerbaijan's president, Aliyev, proudly stated in early March that the younger generation has grown up with hatred towards the enemy. Are you catching this? And that's a reference, the enemy meaning Armenians. Please, Jesus. Okay, so Bangladesh now. Authorities and about 10 Muslim civilians demolished a church that was under construction in a remote and hilly region. Obviously, it was in the way of some hills. According to a local Christian, officials said they demolished the Protestant church building because it was being constructed in a forest reserve. But my question is, then why are illegal activities like cutting down trees and lifting stones from the rivers not also stopped? Can't we, as a minority, practice our religion properly? The church under construction was being built with donations from its 160-strong congregation to replace an old and dilapidated structure made of bamboo and straw, which had existed in the same area for years without complaint or reprisals. Discussing the razing of this church, a local Catholic priest said this: "We are worried and terrified over the incident. We also have our churches here, and the incident is a bad example. We want justice for this incident and hope the government will compensate for it." So, although officials brushed it off as a minor and inconsequential incident, a local human rights activist argued otherwise. Strangely, the Forest Department has hurt the religious sentiments of Christians by demolishing the church. We demand a fair investigation and justice for this heinous act. If not, it will be difficult for Christians in the region to practice their religion in the coming days. And some days later, on March 8th, around 200 Christians formed a human chain and held a silent protest against the demolition of the church. In a written statement, the protesters said that Christians in the Chittagong Hill tracts have been the victims of terrorism and have had their churches destroyed and their homes set on fire for worshipping the same Jesus that Muslims keep telling me they love. Okay, Algeria. Because growing numbers of churches have been shut down or denied permits in the North African nation, often over minor technicalities, according to a March 30th report, Swiss National Councillor Eric Nussbaumer has called on the Swiss Federal Council to act. He presented the continued closure of 17 Protestant churches, sealed since November 2017, as evidence of a possible systematic violation of Algerian Christians' freedom of worship by the government. Seems like a decent case he's building there. Turkey again, before we get on to attacks on Christian women and girls. So Turkey, one of three Orthodox churches in the Black Sea region, the 14th century Hutura Hagios Monastery Church, was violently plundered in the search for treasure, in inverted commas. The church's foundation was dug up, walls were torn down, and a library consisting of, oh my gosh, 7,000 precious books was destroyed. Largely peaceful religion of peace. Largely peaceful religion of peace. Okay, separately, callous construction above a historical Catholic Armenian cemetery, oh my gosh, in Ulus, Ankara, has been visibly desecrated and human remains beneath it unearthed. Okie dokie. Although the Chamber of Architects has requested a halt to the construction, the overseeing ministries have refused and even barred oppositional leaders from entering the site, presumably to inspect it. The continuation of the construction of a bank, as it turns out, in spite of the unearthed human remains, the emphasis is all mine here, is a great disrespect to the multiculturalism in the Anatolian lands, said the president of the Chamber of Architects in Ankara. It's a human rights violation and barbarism, regardless of their religion and their race. Pouring concrete and building shops on the graves of the people who lived in the Anatolian region is inhumane. I mean, this is just common sense, these comments that are directed at the people who think this is fine. Oh, right, let me just catch my serenity. Okay, attacks on Christian women and girls now. Buckle up, everybody. Uganda. After a mosque leader's wife embraced Christianity, and as a form of retribution, the imam ordered, I remember reporting on this, the rape of 3 Christian girls related to a local pastor. He also planned to attack the pastor's church. When my husband interrogated me about being Christian, I refused to answer him, the wife later explained. The rapes of the Christian girls aged 16, 17 and 19 came 2 days after the imam learned of his wife's conversion. Okay, I think I'm going to skip reading more details of that and direct you towards a video that I made on this very subject, and it's entitled something like Imam Orders Rape, etc., etc. Okay, Pakistan. After Shekinah, a 13-year-old Christian girl, disappeared, her parents filed a missing persons report with the local police, who were reluctant to file it, finally doing so 2 days later. Like 13 years old, the police go, give it 48 hours. Okay. A few days later, the investigating officer, a loose term, a loose description, believe me, summoned the parents to the police station where he showed them what's this called? A nikah, an Islamic marriage certificate. I'm just going to point you all to look up the word nikah and its connotations and its, nikah. Just remember that one. It's an Islamic marriage certificate or a legalization of fornication, basically. He said that Shekinah was now a married Muslim woman at the age of 13 and still being a girl, I hear you cry. But yes, that's what he said. And apparently she didn't want to return to her family, and we all should just take his word and get on with our lives, basically, and stop like stressing over 13-year-old girls being abducted and raped. Sorry. Okay. According to the nikah, the fornication certificate, her so-called husband's name is Ali Bashir. We haven't heard this name before, her father explains. Shekinah is just a kid. She was kidnapped and taken to Ankara, where they forcibly converted her and conducted the fake marriage to give it a religious cover. Police have since ignored the father's appeals to see and speak with his daughter. by the way, intercourse with a girl below the age of 16 is recognised as statutory rape in Pakistan. However, in most cases, a falsified conversion certificate and Islamic marriage certificate influence police into pardoning kidnappers or basically ignoring them. Okay. Pakistan, by the way, leads the world in forced marriages, with around 1,000 Christians married against their will to Muslims from November of 2019 to October of 2020. 1,000. It used to be combined Hindu and Christian girls made up around 1,000 a year, but that's not even a year. That's 11 months, and Christian girls hit the target of 1,000, as it were. Okay, separately, Pakistan again. Pakistan, where is your shame? What are you doing with your lives? Okay, Pakistan. After months of stalking and harassing her, a Muslim man broke into and tried to rape a 27-year-old woman and Christian college professor in her home. What a prince among men. According to the mother of Neelam Bibi, the Christian woman in question, it was about 7:15 when I left home to get some groceries. My daughter was alone at home when Faisal Busra intruded into the home forcibly. Once inside, the Muslim man dragged her into an inner room and at gunpoint tried to rape her. She, Neelam, fiercely resisted and was brutally beaten. A male Christian neighbour heard the ruckus, rushed into the house and intervened before Busra could fulfill his sickening, I might add, purpose. Angered at being thwarted, can you imagine the entitlement? Sorry, I'm just getting my tiny violin ready. Oh, he's so angry at being interrupted, raping. Oh, angered at being thwarted, the Muslim would-be rapist exclaimed before leaving, how dare, get ready for this, people. How dare a Christian refuse me and another one rescue her? They both will have to pay for it. Ugh. The incident was the culmination of months of Busra harassing and trying to form a relationship with Neelam. Although she and her family filed a report with the police, same name as all the other police forces, but none of the work. What happened then? Although they tried to put this report in with the police, the police, what a shocker. You won't believe me. They did nothing to, you're right, nothing to arrest or even confront him. The report adds that Christian women in Pakistan are often viewed as soft targets by criminals. I don't know why we're putting criminals in here. I think we can just say like Muslim men who are seeking to rape and or forcibly abduct young girls, women at home, you know, on the streets, wherever, forge the certification and just get on with their lives and have the Supreme Courts and the higher courts and the police forces all completely turning a blind eye. Often soft targets for criminals. Christian women face multiple layers of discrimination due to their religious and gender identity. And I've also made a video on that, which you can go and look at. Egypt. Egypt's getting pretty bad, actually, just as an aside. There was a guy executed IS style by 3 alleged men. There was the other case that I also reported on of the lady and her 6-year-old son being kind of stabbed up in the street and killed. So Egypt, on March 13th, a Muslim man harassed and then beat a teenage Christian girl named Marianne Rifat as she was returning home from church. After she rebuffed and rebuked his advances, he struck her face with a broken bottle. When she ran to her home near the church, the man chased her. Oh, jeez. Broke in, beat her parents, and ransacked the house. When the girl's father filed a complaint with police against the man, the latter responded by filing his own complaint. Yes. Oh, please. Please, God, it's not comedy. Okay, let's just find out because I can't wait. The dude the guy then put in a complaint against the girl he'd just beaten, assaulted, hit in the face with a broken bottle, broke into her home, battered her parents. There's no information here. I'm just scanning through. There's no information as to what the nature of his complaint was, or more importantly, what the heck it possibly could be. He was subsequently arrested for questioning, and that's all the information we have on that. Indonesia, according to a March 18th Human Rights Watch report, Muslims are forcing and creating psychological distress for Christian and other non-Muslim women to wear the hijab, which is the head covering for for Muslim women. Those who resist in Indonesia are being either forced out of their schools and jobs or voluntarily leaving due to the pressure. Children are being humiliated and bullied at school, according to a Human Rights Watch representative. Indonesian regulations and policies have long forced discriminatory dress codes on women and girls in schools and government offices that violate their their right to freedom from coercion to adopt a religious belief. Indonesia's national, provincial, and local governments should immediately end these discriminatory practices and let women and girls wear what they choose without sacrificing their right to education or work. How outrageous. Okay, Pakistan again. What a surprise. These are attacks on Christian blasphemers, and evangelists. On March 10th, the court changed a sentence of life imprisonment in favor of the death penalty for a Christian convicted of sending a blasphemous text message in 2011. So it's only 10 years later. Filed by a senior lawyer, such petitions are often seen as a service to Islam and as jihad or holy war against blasphemers, according to the report. The change comes after a group of fanatical Muslims stormed the court and told the judge that capital punishment was the only sentence for blaspheming against Islam's prophet. Did you catch it? Blasphemy, blasphemy, insulting God or claiming to be God or, something to do with God. But no, the Islamic definition includes Muhammad. But don't worry, people, nobody's worshipping Muhammad or committing shirk. How dare you even think it? Okay. Right. The report also says that the Christian blasphemer must be executed without delay. That was according, to a local source. In 2013, Sajjad Masih Gill, 36, was sentenced to life imprisonment and fined the equivalent of $2,000 for sending what was deemed a controversial text message to a Muslim man in the December of 2011. Over the following years, radicals threatened and attacked his relatives and Christian lawyers whenever they visited him in prison. The senior Muslim lawyer who filed the petition for a death sentence said, according to the report, that the court had accepted the prosecution's argument that capital punishment was the only possible sentence for blasphemy and that life imprisonment was repugnant to the injunctions of Islam. What a load of old twaddle. The report adds that Orthodox Muslims demand to make capital punishment the only penalty for blasphemy. Except that Allah misguides those who misguides and guides those who guides, and he's the best of what's names. Ugh. They argue that life imprisonment it violates Islamic ethos and Shariat regulations. The courts seem to be increasingly complying. I mean, who in this country doesn't respond to a well-ordered, largely peaceful rioting mob of Muslims surrounding the police station / courtroom / the neck of the brother-in-law of Asia Bibi? That kind of thing. Okay, so their appeal against the conviction has been delayed by the High Court on one pretext or another for the past 6 years. Moreover, according to statistics from the Lahore-based Centre for Social Justice, that's an oxymoron, or at least a misnomer, the highest number of blasphemy accused, 200, was reported last year. So last year is seeing some kind of record in the amount of blasphemy accusations, which we know lead to if not death sentences immediately, at least 8 to 10 years in prison, potentially your family members being murdered. Then potentially, as in the case of Asia Bibi, who I just referenced, you may be found completely innocent, exonerated, and you've still lost 10 years of your life, your brother-in-law, some of your legal team, your right to live in comfort and relative security in your own country. Just that kind of stuff. Okay. Algeria. A pastor and another Christian were convicted and sentenced in absentia, i.e. when they're not there, to 2 years in prison each, and a fine of 500,000 Algerian dinars, which is approximately 3,745 American dollars, for previously running a Christian bookstore from their church. Oh, can't be bothered. The court ruling, which was slipped under their church door, weasels, says they are guilty of distributing publications or any other propaganda undermining the faith of a Muslim. Undermining the faith of a Muslim. Pastor Rashid Sigir, I don't know about that pronunciation, and the Muslim governor of Oran have been embroiled in legal fights over the bookstore since 2008. Although the governor forcibly closed it in 2017, local courts have since declared the church's right to have and operate a bookstore. Can you believe this crap? Can you believe this stuff? They've got 2 years in prison each, although in the interim, before they would, after they were charged and before they would just had like this sneaky piece of paper put through their door to inform them that, of their sentence, it's actually been deemed okay for them to have that. But the governor refuses to comply. Algeria is becoming less tolerant of religious minorities. 2 months before these two Christians were convicted of undermining the faith of a Muslim, another Christian was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for reposting a cartoon of Muhammad on his Facebook account 3 whole years ago. Excuse me. If you want to know what I think about cartoons, Jay and I have a video that's called Cartoons of Muhammad, Where Do We Draw the Line? And that's also on my channel. Okay, so now we're down to the general slaughter of Christians. Buckle up, buckle up. Okay. Mozambique. On March 24th, scores of people were massacred or forced to flee during an Islamic terror attack, probably largely peaceful. I'm being facetious, sorry. Near a major gas plant in the Cabo Delgado province, which you've surely heard me speak about. The number of casualties remains unknown. A local source said the area was covered with bodies, with heads and without. Yeah, so I've done a report on this already individually. Among the native corpses were 12 Western people who were tied up and beheaded here, said an official. The Islamic State boasted of killing at least 55 people, including Christians, Mozambique soldiers, state nationals, and crusaders. Although Mozambique is Christian majority, nearly 20% of the population is Muslim. Though the terrorists dismissed them as apostates worthy of the same fate. Wow, they're equal opportunities haters. Hundreds fled into the bush on foot. We have many children here, said a survivor who walked 3 days without food and water. Many children are dying in the bush. People have been captured and others have died. According to a separate report, which was published on March 16th, a few days before this latest massacre, you catch that, not the only one recently, correspondents in Mozambique were sickened to our core. And these are like pretty, they're inured to this to some degree. They're used to reporting this kind of stuff, and they even were sickened to their core, listening to mothers recount the fate of their children, some as young as 11, at the hands of the Muslim terrorists. That night, our village was attacked and houses were burned, one mother recalled. When it all started, I was at home with my 4 children. We tried to escape to the woods, but they took my eldest son and beheaded him. Okay, then. Nigeria. During a raid on his village, machete-swinging Muslim Fulani herdsmen, they ambushed and hacked a Christian man to death. According to a statement from the village, the Fulani have continued attacking and killing our people without any form of provocation. Bitrus Sholom, 36, is survived by his wife Esther and their 4 children, who I'm sure are beautiful, aged 5, 8, 10 and 12. Okay, I've been going a while now. There's quite a lot left. Our generic hate I've got here. Turkey. In response to a question being asked to random passers-by on the street by staff for a YouTube channel, if you could get away with one thing, what would you do? That's the question they ask everyone. One woman said on video, what would I do? Behead 20 Armenians. She then looked directly at the camera and smiled whilst nodding her head. She later said she was Azerbaijani, a Muslim people who, with the aid of jihadi mercenaries funded by Turkey, have been slaughtering Christians during their recent appropriation of ancient Armenian territory. And lastly, Malaysia. Many Muslims were outraged on March 10th after the nation's highest court, those who are presumably put in place to protect the rights and the peace of the nation. So after the nation's highest court ruled that Christians can also use the Arabic word Allah to refer to their God, our God, as Arabic-speaking Christians regularly do, and not the way that Muslim polemicists would have you believe because they are worshipping the one who is the best of deceivers. No, no, no. Anywho, as part of the uproar, oh my gosh, the uproar, people, can you believe it? There's people getting macheted in Mozambique, beheaded in front of their parents. There's Nigeria all over the place. There's Pakistani young girls being raped. People putting in like reports against the complainant in the case of the dude who chased her, battered her in the face with a broken bottle, beat up her parents. All of this stuff, bodies lying in the streets, beheaded, Westerners, Mozambican state officials, all of this. But let's check out what outrage is a Muslim. Okay. The uproar. One Muslim woman dressed in a dun-coloured hijab, I don't know why that's important, made and uploaded a 12-minute hate-filled rant pledging to destroy Christians if they dare use the word Allah to mean God. I've got to say it. Even though Allah, the one in the Quran, said he is Yahweh. He is. So basically, if anybody agrees with Allah, this 12-minute hate-filled rant by a Muslim woman dressed in who cares what she's dressed in, there'll be a destruction. They're going to destroy Christians if they basically agree with the Allah of the Quran. You couldn't make it up. They'd need medically examining, but the word retarded just springs forcefully to my mind. Anyway, the video quickly garnered over 650,000 views and 8,000 shares before being taken down. A criminal investigator confirmed that police had identified several statements within the video that challenged the High Court ruling that had elements to incite racial and religious hatred. And yet then there's a full stop there. No news, as I just come back to the page where the live chat is, no news on what they're going to do about it. What an absolute shocker. Can you imagine my surprise? Oh, right, you can. Okay, so I'm sorry if I got a little bit K there. Not even at the beginning, I can't say, or at the end, just the entire way through. I just can't cope with it. And I'll carry on coping with it because Jesus did foretell it. Everyone who tries to lead a godly life will be persecuted. doesn't seem to matter what time of history and what kind of Christian. This is what irritates me ever so slightly about the never-ending denominational, like interdenominational discussions. They're still valid discussions, but and I'm going to upload one later, funnily enough. But still, what troubles me is that I've never, and it's a lot, many reports I've read, many stories I've covered, many, like even more so have I read and looked into, and then had to whittle down what I'm going to report on. I have never once heard of anybody like pausing with the machete to check what denomination Christian you are. It doesn't happen. Our enemies do not care whether we believe in child baptism or adult baptism. They don't care whether we go for this confession of faith or that article of what's name. They couldn't give a flying one, as it were. Anyway, I think it's best that I stop this stream before I really go to town, as it were. What I'd like you to do, please, before I forget, this is almost the most important part of everything that I've actually said. Please pray for specific regions of the world and the Christians they're in. I don't care whether they're Catholic. I don't care whether I just don't care. If they've got Jesus in their heart and on their lips, that's all that's important to me. And quite frankly, it's all that's important to the jihadis, or in the case of North Korea and China, the godlessness people. They don't care what kind of Christian you are. Christ said we'll be hated. He is the truth. There are no lies in him. All of his prophecies have come or will come or are about to come true. And it's very important that we pray for them collectively and individually is most important, because it's easy to kind of tag an amen somewhere on social media. But if you take the time, in the privacy of your own heart, as it were, to direct your thoughts and your prayers and your gratitude that you're not in these places, God can surely open your eyes and your heart to new ways, new other practical ways other than praying, that you can help these people. If, though, you feel a burning desire, if I've hopefully triggered some kind of reaction in you, and you'd like more practical or pragmatic ways of helping, please do get in touch with me in the comments section or on Discord. The link is in the description. And I've got like ready-made things that you can be doing, that we can all be doing. And actually, I'd appreciate it if you could get on board with that. But obviously, do it prayerfully. God may have a different purpose for you, but he certainly, I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think he expects you to also just like cover your ears and ignore what's going on to your brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters, the church, as it were. Okay, rant over. You can all go about your business. I'll be uploading some interdenominational discussion very soon, and hope to see you there. I'll probably premiere it. So, all right, God bless, and I'll see you soon. Don't have nightmares. God is in sovereign authority over all of this. Think Romans 8:28. Think Ephesians. Think, just think Jeremiah 29:11-13. Like, there's many verses that attest to the goodness of God and the way that he can bring goodness out of evil, and that he knows the plans that he has for us, and they are not plans for misery and bloodshed. They're plans for a future and a hope. All right then. God bless you. Bye.